This is Suzuki's brand new SV-7GX, a bike heavily based on the SV-650 platform, and what a looker it is. So if you want to know what this bike is like, and if it's better than the Tracer 7, stick around, this is going to be a good one. So as you can see, it is quite a looker. Looks heavily inspired by the 1000GX platform with those mean looking eyes in the central LED unit there. We've got telescopic forks, we've got a 645cc V-twin engine, 90-degree V-twin. It's now Euro 5 Plus compliant. There are a few internal changes. Rear rack, this is absolutely standard. Trellis frame, again all from the 650, SV650, but there are a few changes. They've hardened up the mounting points just so that it can take the rack there, and also your pillion and some luggage. Still got the same amount of power, 72 horses, 64 Newton meters of torque. Revised suspension settings, same brakes. I do like it in this white and blue. The price is ridiculously low, it's £6,999 for the white one. If you want this colour, that's an extra 400 quid, which is a tad pricey, but it is what it is. Okay, let's throw our leg over this lovely looking beast. 795mm seat height. For reference, I'm 5'8" with a 30-inch inseam. So, what is it like? I can, even though I'm on a bit of a camber, I can almost completely flat foot it. In fact, I can flat foot it. So that's 31.3 inches in old money. But yeah, very comfortable position to be in. Let's start her up. I think that sounds bloody lovely, don't you? Right, let's go for a ride and see what we think. There's the little screen. It is quite small, and actually I thought that would be a bit too small, but because everything is so legible and bright, I've not had any issues with that. So we've been riding this for quite a few hours. We've done 130 kilometers. There's the menu, ride by wire throttle, so we've got riding modes, all that good stuff, switchable traction control, and a bi-directional quick shifter, all as standard, so that's pretty good. There's your normal switch gear, nice and basic, basically 3 buttons to control everything. You know, hazards over there. It's all very, very approachable. There is a fair amount of wind noise from the screen, unfortunately, but not much I can do about it. So engine-wise, we've got that lovely V-twin that was in the SV650. I actually bought an SV650 in 2022, so that is still quite fresh in my mind. But yeah, it's a very familiar feeling engine. You know, 72 horses, 64 Newton meters of torque. It's not going to set your pants on fire, but it does give you a lovely linear delivery of torque, and it is actually still quite fun to ride, and it sounds fantastic as well. Quite a nice smooth delivery of power as well, even though it's a twin. So let's talk about the seating and comfort. So that's one of the big changes over the SV650, is that they've moved the bars higher up, more towards the rider. They've lowered the pegs, so that triangle from your hip to your hands to your feet is a lot more open and a lot more comfortable. And what's the time now? It is currently 2:30 in the afternoon, and we set off today at 8 AM. So, you know, that is quite a long day in the saddle. We have had a few breaks, but not once have I felt that the bike is uncomfortable. We are on some bumpier roads at the moment, so the suspension is getting a bit of a test. They've stuck the comfort seat on, but I would also say that the standard seat is really comfortable. It's got 10mm more padding than the SV650 for the rider, and 20mm more for the pillion. Put your words in. So things should be much comfier, and I've got to say, when I rode the SV650 that I had, after about an hour I was ready to absolutely get off. But this bike, no issues whatsoever in terms of seating and comfort. The bars are nice and wide, so you've got a really good commanding riding position. Nothing actually to complain about. Love that intake noise. They've actually changed the airbox a little bit so you get better intake noise. They've made it more rigid, but they've also changed, I believe they've changed the shape of it. So they've changed some of the dog gears just so that the gears are more reliable with the quick shifter, more durable. This is fun. The comfort seat also has an extra padding, a 25mm increase over the standard seat, so it's even more comfortable. but it does raise you up a little bit. So, you know, you do have to take that into consideration if you're rather short, but you might be okay. Suspension wise, they have made some changes because the bike is a bit heavier. It's 211 kilos, so they have had to fettle with the suspension settings. We did try and press Suzuki, because the engineers were here from Japan, on what specific changes they've made, whether it's spring rate, damping, rebound, what, and they wouldn't really get into specifics. We kind of just have to guess that I think they've changed the spring rates a little bit to account for the extra weight and potential weight of rider pillion and luggage. The front shocks are unadjustable, telescopic forks, fairly basic, and the rear you've got a monoshock which has got 7-stage preload adjustment. I think it ships at stage 3, but you can of course change that with a C-spanner. You do need some tools, unfortunately. So suspension throughout the day has been, I'd say, firm, but actually a little bit plush, and bear in mind it's got to do a lot of things, hasn't it? It's got to really be in a Goldilocks zone, which is a hard thing to get right, but Suzuki have done a pretty good job. On some really bumpy, undulating roads, it does certainly struggle a little bit, but that's only on super bumpy roads. On most normal roads, the suspension seems to cope quite well with soaking up the bumps, not being too aggressive on the rebound, but still giving you a really nice feeling of sportiness when you get onto a nice set of twisties. It's actually a really stable platform. The bike doesn't sort of have any weird handling qualities, so it does fill you with confidence, which is great because it's that sort of bike that's going to appeal to newer riders, people who want like perhaps their first sports touring machine. Firm but plush and very planted. So just little roads like this are a little bit, ooh, if you hit a succession of bumps, the front does get a little bit flustered, but that's not really a surprise considering the budget of the bike. Brakes are quite nice now. I've not had to lean on them too much, but 4-piston Tokiko calipers, axially mounted, and they work quite nicely. Lovely feel to them. You know, they're not going to feel like Brembo style lemurs. If you expect that, then you're kind of barking up the wrong tree a little bit with this bike, but the brakes work quite nicely. Yeah, lovely power. Right, so I just want to do a quick walk around of the SV-7GX. Let's start from front to back. I didn't talk about the tyres actually. So these are Pirelli Angel GT2s, and they are very good. I've got nothing bad to say about them. Obviously it's a very warm, sunny day, so they've performed absolutely brilliantly, but the true test will be when I can get one back in the UK and it's you know, wet weather, all that sort of thing. But there's the 4-piston Tokiko brakes with rubber hoses, unfortunately. 290mm discs. Lovely blue wheels there. There's your 41mm telescopic forks, 125, I think it's 125mm travel. Lovely looks, of course. There's, we'll just turn it on so you can see the LED headlights. I really love the design of that front there. I think it looks really cool, really mean and aggressive. There's your screen, and as you can see, there's 3 different holes, so it's in the top position at the moment. But it's not easy to take off. You have to get your Allen keys out. Handguards, lovely bodywork. They did extensive wind tunnel testing. Put your teeth in, Dan. And there's the beating heart of this beast, 645 V-twin, 90-degree V-twin motor, putting out 72 horses and 64 Newton meters of torque. Lovely trellis frame, plenty of room for your pillion. That actually looks pretty good. More padding, certainly more than the SV650. So I think they'd be pretty comfortable. 17.4 litre tank, so great for a couple hundred miles at least. There's the back end. They've changed the back end from the old SV650, which had like a split light design. And somewhere buried in there is your rear shock with a 7-stage preload adjustment. You know, some of the fixtures and fittings aren't the best looking, but this is built to a price. But overall, I'd say the fit and finish is very, very high. Rear carrier, standard feature, as is the quick shift, which is just down here. There's the menu, nice and clear, nice and simple. The up on the switchgear here changes the upper portion, so you've got trip meters, you've got litres per 100 kilometres, you've got your range to empty, coolant temp, water temp, air temp, and that's it. And then at the bottom you've got trip 1, trip 2, battery voltage, distance till your service, And then you can go into the settings, and if you press your mode button, you can cycle through the different settings. So you've got your riding modes, A, B or C, traction control, off, 1, 2, 3, and then quick shifter on or off. You know, you can turn it off if you want, but what would be the point in that? Right, let's carry on riding. Bye. The throttle response is absolutely sublime in B mode. I really, really like B mode. In A mode, it is a little bit aggressive. So actually, let's talk about the electronics, because this year we've got ride-by-wire throttle, we've got electronic throttle bodies, whereas the previous bike, the SV-650, had mechanical throttle bodies. So we've got 3 riding modes, A, B and C, and they denote active, basic or comfort. And if you just think of it as A is sport mode, B is road mode, and C is rain mode. That's how I would think about it. I do find A little bit too aggressive for my liking, for kind of all-round riding where it's city and twisties. So B, as with most Suzukis I've ridden, I find B mode the mode that suits me the best. But you know, as always, you've got choices, and it's better to have more choices than not, I think. C mode does give you a 17% decrease in power, so it is rather relaxed, and that's good for slippery conditions, be it rain or whatever. We've also got switchable traction control. We've got a bi-directional quick shifter, which is quite clever because it's a quick shifter where you can change up or down no matter what you're doing with the throttle. On throttle, off throttle, you can do it all. There's no limitations to what the quick shifter will do in terms of when you're on the throttle. So you can go up when you're off the throttle, which I just did there. Yeah, it is a little bit clunky. Or you can go down when you're on the throttle, like there. The quick shifter is a little bit clunky, certainly from first to second. I find most twins are like that with their quick shifters. As the revs build, it does get smoother, and also the Suzuki engineers were saying that because they're such new bikes, they've only just done their 600 miles, you know, it should over time soften off a little bit. Other electronic features, we've got the low RPM assist, which just revs the throttle bodies a little bit when you're at low RPM, just to help. It's basically like an anti-stall, which is useful for newer riders, I think. You've got the easy start system, press the starter button once and it will just keep cranking over until it starts, which is quite a nice little feature. You don't have to sit there holding the button down. It's just a little thing, but you know, I quite like it. And certainly if you're new to riding bigger bikes, this will certainly be a very fun motorcycle to ride, I think. You've got a Suzuki Connect, I can't remember what the actual name of the system is called, Connect Plus or something like that, where it gives you turn-by-turn navigation. You know, it records your rides and that kind of stuff. You can share them with your friend on socials. I don't usually test those sorts of things. We've got the TFT dash, which looks pretty good, I think. I did think it was a little bit small at first, but actually upon use, very, very bright and legible, even in this baking hot sunny conditions. So it's all good. LED lights all round. They've sort of made the LED, the main LED, such a shape that when you're actually going around corners, it aids cornering. So it's like a built-in cornering light, which they did show us on the presentation. But you know, as we're not riding at night on this launch, I can't really give you any proof of that. I just have to take Suzuki's word for that. 17.4 litre tank, which is 3.8 UK gallons. I reckon that's good. It's going to be good for around 220, 230 miles, I think. But it does, of course, depend how you ride the thing. The windscreen, unfortunately, still isn't adjustable while you're riding. You do have to get the Allen key out, which is a bit annoying. I don't know why Suzuki don't just design a little system like so many other manufacturers have done. But you can change the position of the screen. There are 3 different settings. From the lowest to the highest, it's 50mm of difference. But again, you have to get your Allen keys out to do that, which is a little bit of a faff. It's only like a 5-minute job, but again, I think Suzuki could make a nice little one-handed system like with on the Tracer or other machines that I've ridden, you know. It's about time, Suzuki, come on. Got a USB-C port there on the just next to the dash, which is nice to have that. It's not an extra, which is good. So yeah, we've been riding the bike for quite a few hours today, all sorts of different conditions, through towns, on a small bit of motorway this morning, lots of twisty roads. One thing I would say about this, all these press launches, is that my opinion is based on us doing a few hours riding. We've done 150 kilometers. So do bear that in mind. This isn't a fully in-depth review. It's just my first ride thoughts, essentially. Woohoo! Hello, coos. The windscreen is in the upper setting at the moment, and as you can hear, that is there's quite a lot of wind noise. But there's no buffeting, but it is a bit just like being on a naked bike, which I don't mind too much. There is a touring screen if you want, which is 80mm higher. I will not be testing that out today. Suzuki was saying in their little presentation that since the SV-650 was first released in 1999, they've sold over 500,000 of these 645cc V-twin engines, which is quite something. So from a reliability standpoint, you know it's going to stand the test of time. It's a proven platform. It's been out over 25 years. So I think we can all rest easy knowing that this new SV-7GX isn't going to be a highly strung diva. It's going to be a very reliable machine. Come rain or shine, it will start on the button. And there is, of course, the 7-year dealer activated warranty with Suzuki. You know, that does keep you having to go back to dealer to pay for those services, but you know, if you want the warranty to last that long, kind of understand it really. I think it looks really nice. It's got the bits I like about the see, this is the problem with their naming system. The S1000GX, that's what I'm just going to call it. GSX, that's it, GSX S1000GX. It's got the front end, which I really like, or very similar. It's kind of a smaller, shrunk down version, scaled down version of that. But it reminds me like of a mech, something from, you know, Metal Gear Solid. It's got the eyes and that single massive headlight underneath. I think it's really cool looking, very Japanese mech looking. I like it a lot. Blue and white is of course the colour to get, but you can also get a grey and you can get a black one. But you know, blue and white is my favourite, and of course the white one, which is the base model price, comes in at 6,999 of your finest British pounds, which is quite something considering the competition. Now that I've mentioned competition, now I am going from memory here, so if I do get things slightly wrong, you'll have to forgive me. But you've got the Kawasaki Versys 650, which I believe is about over £8,000. You've got the Tiger Sport 660, again over £8,000 or even £9,000 for that one. Of course, the Tracer 7, that's going to be one of the main competitors, and I actually spent a year with the Tracer 7 GT, so I do have some thoughts which I will put at the end of this video. So you know, Suzuki have been very aggressive on the pricing. No, the bike doesn't come with cruise control. It's not even an option. It doesn't come with upside down forks or radial brakes. But Suzuki said there was internal and external demand to use the SV-650 platform, and no doubt they had lots of parts still left over from that platform. So why not make the most of it and get another bike out? You know, even though it doesn't have the upside down forks and radial brakes, which do look nice, I don't feel like the bike is compromised too much by that. If you were to tell me this bike had upside down forks and radial brakes and I wasn't allowed to see the bike, I'd probably believe you, because the suspension and the brakes feel absolutely great to me. Again, taking that cost into consideration, the asking price. I love the addition of the quick shifter to this engine, because the previous one didn't have it. It's just a nice little cherry on the cake, really. I won't do a pros and cons in this video because I think I'm going to need to ride it quite a bit more. There's a few obvious ones, like lacking cruise control is a con, but I will get into that in another video. There's lots to like about the bike. It's got a fantastic characterful engine, decent brakes, suspension, while not the most amazing, it works well for the platform. It works well for the bike. You know, if you really want to upgrade it, you could, but as stock, for the kind of purposes I'd use this bike, I wouldn't probably bother. It's good enough. And again, you've got to look at the flipping price of it. Under £7,000 for a brand new sports touring middleweight motorcycle from Suzuki, from one of the big four. I think it's a bargain, to be quite honest with you. It comes with that rear carrying plate as standard as well, and it's nice and flat, so you can, if you don't want to get a top box, you can just put your luggage on the top, like a bag or something. I've got a Lone Rider bag that I think would fit that quite nicely. It's got these knuckle guards as well, just to keep the wind off your pinkies when things get a little bit cold. It doesn't have heated grips. I'm sure there is an aftermarket option for that, but it doesn't come with it as standard. Oh. So this versus the Tracer 7, what are my thoughts? Now you've got to remember, I did have the Tracer 7 GT, which was the more premium version, and that sits at about £10,000. But I have ridden the standard Tracer 7. One thing I would say about the Tracer 7 is it feels a little bit more agile than this. This is a little bit heavier, and I think the Tracer 7 does tip in a little bit easier. But we're really splitting hairs. There's not much in it at all. And yes, the Tracer 7 does have cruise control as standard, but it doesn't have a quick shifter, whereas this does. So, you know, there are pros and cons. I think both look really good. However, I can't ignore the price of this. You know, a standard Tracer 7 at the moment is about £9,000. And for over £2,000 less, you could get yourself one of these. I think Suzuki are really kind of firing shots towards the competition and saying, well, this is what we've got, your move. And it's shown that it doesn't really matter that, you know, okay, it doesn't have upside down suspenders, it doesn't have radial brakes, but it doesn't actually make that much difference to normal riders like you or I. This is just fun. I love this sort of twisty turny roads. Great fun. I think that's just about everything I can say about the new SV-7GX. Ooh. Getting my pegs down again. Tweet like a toiger. Other than just to enjoy this last bit of road. Right, I think that will just about do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more videos about this SV-7GX or any other bikes on my channel, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. If you go out today, do ride safe, but remember to have fun, of course, otherwise what's the flipping point? Until next time, you take care. Peace. Bye. In fish, no?